What's cracking? Welcome to Perfectly Healthy and Toned Radio. I'm your host, Darren Fat Man McDuffie, and this episode is being brought to you, as always, by I'mTheFatMan.com. We have a show, actually a bonus show today with a friend of mine, Diane Kazer. Diane is a functional diagnostic nutritionist, and she's actually coming back to the show. She did a show previously about 2 years ago, I think it was, on sleep, sex, and serotonin. If you haven't listened to that show, I would encourage that you go back and do that as well. But before I get into talking more about Diane's project, just wanted to remind you to go back and listen to a previous episode I did just last night with Dr. Skye Weintraub. Dr. Skye has a book called The Parasite Menace, and we were discussing some things on parasites. She dropped a lot of science on that show, so I would encourage you to go back and listen when you get a chance. And also, if you are someone out there who's having digestive issues, one thing that you may want to consider doing is getting a test for parasites and then ultimately doing a parasite cleanse, because as I understand from Dr. Skye, that's really important, and she's been doing this for a number of years. So again, listen to the show and get that information because it can help you. Now, Diane Kazer is a friend of mine, and if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that we were connected at one time. We had a podcast called the Wellness Warrior Radio Show. Had a lot of fun on that podcast, and Diane decided to go off and do some things, and she's really been blazing new trails with a lot of the things that she's doing. So inviting her back to the show right now to discuss her latest project, which is called the Heart to Happiness Summit. But before I get Diane on, I just wanted to take some time to introduce her and read her bio. Diane Kazer is the doctor's nutritionist. She helps clients all around the world, but most specifically in Orange County, California, where many doctors entrust their patients to her to teach them self-love through nutrition, meditation, fitness, and fulfilling their dreams. With a 7-year clinical background and lifelong experience, Diane is a passionate expert on reversing autoimmune disease, detoxification, natural fertility, digestion challenges, and energy upgrades. She's written programs and ebooks to teach her clients how to thrive, such as the Sexy Belly Guide, Hashimoto's Guide to Reversing Autoimmune Disease, and the Warrior Cleanse. They were born through her own health struggles, which she reversed through the tenets she teaches. Her recent passion project is the Heart to Happiness Summit, where she brings together 25 experts from around the world to enlighten us to a greater version of ourselves through the heart, to find happiness and reconnect with each other and our purpose. She helps conscious, successful women detox divine draining toxins out of their lives so they can reverse disease, supercharge their potential, and look and feel stunning so they can focus on their dreams and follow their heart with reckless abandon. I introduce to you Diane Kazer. Please enjoy the show. Diane Kazer, welcome to Perfectly Healthy and Toned Radio. How are you today?
Darren McDuffie, my old man. My old man is in my old podcast partner.
Yep, your old partner. I was telling everybody before that on the pre-segment that you and I had an old show, Wellness Warrior Radio, the Wellness Warrior Radio Show, and that I was welcoming you back. So welcome back. And
yay!
I know that you have something really big that you've been working on, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But I wanted to kind of give people a little preview or glimpse of who you are and just ask you some questions before we get into talking about your big project that you've been working on. It's actually going on right now, and even in that pre-segment, I told them to listen to it, make sure they go on and sign up, because I've been actually watching some of the videos and I've gotten a lot out of the videos myself. And to think that, I think that I'm not a know-it-all, but I think I know a lot more than the average person. Mm-hmm. And I've been getting a lot of just interesting information, a lot of little nuggets out of the videos that I've been watching. So again,
yay! Yeah,
if you're out there listening, then go in to the segment and then go and sign up for Diane's summit, because you'll get a lot of information out there. So Diane, I know your background, I know who you are, but maybe my audience doesn't know who you really are. So you were born in Sacramento, California. I actually lived in Sacramento for a while, so I know how that was. But you also played pro soccer for a while.
I did.
And I can relate to that. And, one of the things that happens with a lot of athletes like yourself and myself is that we have to transition into what I would consider the work world. We're no longer doing athletics. We transfer into the work world. And you happen to land in financial planning. Is that correct?
Yes.
So tell me about that. Tell me about what you were doing with financial planning and why everything suddenly changed.
I was following a very sexy career that I knew made a lot of money. It was, if you look at every decision that we make in life, we kind of have, you decide based on what your truth is, like your soul's purpose. Like, what am I here for? What really drives me? What makes me feel alive? What turns me on when I think about doing it for others and doing it for myself? And, the root of who I am and what I'm here for. And I think that this pretty much is interwoven into the spirituality and the thumbprint of every single human being, is that what makes us light up the most and what makes us happiest and most fulfilled is when we help other people, right? Like when we have a purpose. And then there's a sense of fulfillment when we see on the other side of that, when we help someone, how it benefits them. And so the root of everything that I like to do is to see other people succeed, to see people smile, to see them happy. And so I'm not going to condemn myself too much because, being a financial planner, I got to help so many families. Like I had about 150 families as clients before I sold my practice. And it has enabled me. I saved a ton of money when I did it. It enabled me to save a lot of money. It's enabled me to travel the world quite a few times. But I did definitely do that in college when I got a scholarship for soccer and academics. And I did business administration because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to play soccer. And then I just chose like the default, right? Like, well, if I learn business administration and marketing, then I can do that with any business. And I always knew I wanted to work for myself. Because, as athletes, we're self-driven. We don't do so well with telling other people telling us what to do because we like to do it our way because we, kind of understand the whole field of vision. Right. And so I wanted to be a stockbroker because I thought it was sexy and I wanted to make a lot of money. I knew that. I didn't know why. I didn't know why I wanted to make a lot of money. And I think that's really important. Like when you make a lot of money, what are you going to do with it? And what is it going to bring you? And are you going to give it to others? Are you going to consume it yourself? Are you going to use it to buy butt implants? Like, what is it that you're going to use this money to do, right?
Right.
So I thought stockbroker was too limited because it was just dealing with transacting, individual company investments. And then I thought, I want to do something more comprehensive because saving money on your taxes will affect your ability to save for retirement, will affect your estate planning and how much you pass down to the kids, and life insurance, and what if something happens and catastrophe. And I'm a planner by nature, and so I really loved that career. But it got to this point where after Bernie Madoff had done all of his schematics and filth in the financial world, it became a very difficult to trust industry. And that's when I started getting the bad taste of, I don't really like the compliance depth of this industry, and I got out.
Yeah, so something you became you weren't happy anymore, and you decided to make a change, as all of us at some point do. Some people never really make the change, and then that's why they keep being unhappy. But you decided to make the change, and that change led you from Sacramento down to Southern California.
Well, you know what, Dee? I'm going to interrupt you there. I actually sort of made that change. And this is the power of setting intentions and the power of, and you and I talk about this a lot, but the power of the laws of attraction. And I remember one day I wasn't happy with what I was doing anymore, and I felt stifled, and I needed to move somewhere else instead of Sacramento. I felt limited, and I wanted to reach my wings farther, and I sat down and I valued my business, and I went, wow, that would afford me a pretty good life. And I valued it, and I put it in my top drawer as a bookmark to the laws of attraction, the book, The Secret, right? I was reading that at the same time. I didn't decide to sell my business. My business decided to make me sell it, and I had to. I was forced out. It was 3 months after I put that bookmark into that book that I was forced to sell my business. So I didn't make the decision. And I think that sometimes that's what we need to realize, is that sometimes the power of our intentions, when we're out of alignment with our truth and where we're at, if we're not strong enough to pull out of something that we know is not good for us, that will be forced upon us.
Yeah,
and that's what happened to me.
Yeah, you're right, because the universe has knocked me upside my head a couple of times. And the universe will actually put you where it wants you to be, and a lot of people don't actually realize that. So you are forced to sell your business, and obviously you migrate down to Southern California and you start doing your fitness. You start competing in fitness. Tell us about how that happened.
How did I get into it, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, so I think that what we do when we're shaken up, like when the truth of something happens and it's presented in front of us, we can look at it in one of two ways. The truth can either hurt us or it can change us. And so at first when it happened, I remember thinking, ouch. And then my aunt, when I called her crying, telling her what happened, she said, "Congratulations, this is the best thing that's ever happened to you." And I was like, "Screw you, what?" And
Right.
I went, wait a second, she's totally right. Like, this is going to change me in a way that I know that is best for me. And so what I did is, when I was lost, I defaulted back to what I knew was comfortable, right? Because I was like so lost. I went, what am I good at? I need to feel good at something right now so that I can build my confidence and at least start walking the path to where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And of course I knew my body. I knew how to build my body. I knew how to take care of my body. And so I started training again. I started personal training in Southern California. And we did like the Spartan training. I was training with one of the trainers who trained some of the actors for the movie 300. And so it was some pretty hardcore training. And I decided that I wanted to do bodybuilding. Okay, so not like the crazy bodybuilding women, but like the figure ones, the ones that are toned and muscly and sexy. The look has definitely changed since I first started. And it's a lot more unhealthy now. And pretty much every woman that is on stage in the section that I was in, which is figure, is on some kind of an anabolic steroid, some kind of a fat burner. I feel awful for women who don't know this, but that is exactly what it takes to look like that. It is an eating disorder. When it's compulsive weighing your food, it's definitely taking 2 to 3 different kinds of drugs to look like that. And so when I first got into the industry, I didn't know that that's what it would take to succeed. However, in my second show, I took the overall class and I won and I qualified for nationals. But then the next step was, Diane, if you want to, if you want it, because I went and competed in state, and they said, if you want to win state, you have to take steroids because everybody else is doing it. And if you want to win nationals, you have to take steroids because everyone else is doing it. And I was like, I don't think this is for me. And so I pulled out of that too. And then that's when I got into nutrition and yoga, because I really went from, deception started really hitting me hard, Darren. Deception in finance, I pulled out of it. Deception in what I thought was fitness, I pulled out of that. And so I've just been chasing truth since then. And that's how I found nutrition now. And I actually have a bodybuilding show next month that I'm doing, but it's a natural bodybuilding show. Right. It's not being 10% body fat. It's, it's okay with 14 or 15 and just showing up as you are. So I'm still doing it, but not in the kind of mainstream bodybuilding that everybody sees today on magazines and whatnot.
Yeah. So you actually won a fitness championship. I can't remember. I think it was NPC Fitness Championship. And you had a lot of friends that say they were going to show up to your fitness championship. I believe it might have been 14 friends that say they were going to show up to your fitness championship, and none of them showed up. What did you learn from that experience, and how did you actually feel about that whole thing?
Whoa, Dee. I was just talking about this the other day. It doesn't come up that often. And it's one of those ones that whenever I feel alone, I go back to this moment and I remember the tears that I had streaming down my face when I left that show. So I want to start this answer with a quote that you had sent me the other day, which is so true, and it's pretty much exactly what was happening to me in this moment. And it's by Eckhart Tolle. many people who are going through the early stages of the awakening process and are no longer certain what their outer purpose is, what drives the world no longer drives them, seeing the madness of our civilization so clearly they feel somewhat alienated from the culture around them. Some feel that they inhabit a no man's land between two worlds. They're no longer run by the ego, yet the arising awareness has not yet become fully integrated into their lives. Inner and outer purpose have not merged. That defines that moment, Dee. Like I had been for 6 months training, not drinking alcohol, not doing drugs like all of my neighbors when I lived on the beach in Newport. And that's what everybody does and did at the time. And of course, I used to be a party girl too before that. And so for me, for 6 months to not drink, I feel like bodybuilding in a way saved me from my using alcohol as a side, as a distraction to feel what I was supposed to be feeling, which was fear to be who I really am and fear to step into my power, into my light, and show up and have people look at me. Because I would always think, like, if I'm this light being, that I don't want to make people feel bad about themselves for not stepping into their light too. And that's that Marianne Williamson quote about we're most fearful of our light than our darkness. And so that was that transitory point in my life where I started to step into my power and I started to step into my light and away from the darkness and the patterns that I used to exploit those feelings. And so what happened in that 6 month time period is I started remodeling my friends. Like my friends who I thought were my friends would say, oh, you could have a few drinks. Oh, you could have a few drinks. And I'm like, no, I'm in contest prep. Can you just support me on this mission? And no, misery loves company and they want me to drink with them. And I'm like, no, I don't know how many times. Can you please just respect this and support me? And I realized, God, people are really selfish. They're really insecure and they really need someone to step down with them. And the more I said no, the more I had to step up. And the more I realized I was creating this space between who I thought were my friends and who really were my friends. And then I went, I don't even know who my friends are. Yeah. So these 14 people, go ahead, Dee.
No, I was just saying, did you go through, because I've gone through this in the last year or so, maybe the last year and a half, where there's this constant tug of war where you are the old you and the new you are battling. Have you gone through that?
Yeah. Oh, still am.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life, for the rest of our lives. I think that is the journey of being a human, and that is the fun challenge that you and I talk about that I love. Like, it's almost like being in this body is like a fun game. It's like it's our own personal video game. It's like when people say, oh, do you like to go to movies, or what movies do you like? And I'm like, I don't watch movies. I like to make my own movie. That is my own life. Or what video games do you like? I don't know. My life is a video game. Like, I see challenges and I step into them. I'm not carrying around a gun and killing zombies, but in such a way we are with words, or we are with, actions. So the tug of war will always be there. And I like to say to clients and patients that I work with, because of course I help people with weight loss and getting, purging the viruses that are the reasons why they have autoimmune disease or why they have other diseases or depression. But these things that we get to entertain, these thoughts, we have a path in our brain that we get to choose. We get to choose the programming that we were taught by society, our parents, the churches, politics, whatever, work, college. We get to choose that programming, or we get to challenge, what is my truth? And I think that's the most fun, is to listen to the two of them and pick which one makes the most sense in that time. And it always tends to be our truth. Our truth is always the right answer. But we're afraid to be our truth because we're afraid to be different. So that's where I want to challenge people to find true, organic, authentic happiness is to not seek comfort, not seek normal and average. It is to seek your optimal and to step into your uniqueness that the world needs. And it's selfish to do other. It's selfish to be average. It is the opposite of selfish to step into who you really truly are, because you are the only person that can do this, offer this gift the way that you can.
Yeah, I agree with you. I started shooting these videos that had nothing to do with health and nutrition. And I remember when I first started doing them, I'm like, people are going to think I'm crazy as hell.
I know.
And I was so afraid to do it, but I was like, you know what, this is me now. And I mean, if people have been following me, people have been following my shows, you know that every now and then I put something in there that's spiritual, but that's because I'm evolving. And I think that we have this whole mind, body, soul connection, but we have it in reverse order. And I've talked about that as well. But I wanted to ask you about your traveling. You're traveling around the world.
Do you want me to finish that 14-person thing you asked me about? Because we kind of went around a loop-de-loop on that.
Yeah, finish that thought.
Okay. Well, it was the question that you had about the people who were supposed to show up to my show, and they didn't, because that was my pivotal moment where, you know, my 14 quote-unquote friends, who were more party friends than they were real friends, they said they were going to come to my show, and no one came to the prejudging except for one of my friends, and that was my roommate at the time, and he was too hungover to stay. And the other 13 friends, turns out that they were too hungover to go, and they were partying too late the night before. Of course I wasn't. And so there I was when they started calling numbers, and they called not my number as second place. That meant I was first. And my body started shaking. I lit up and I realized, oh my God, all this hard work paid off. I won. I did this. And I qualified for nationals. As I stepped up to get my trophy, I looked around to see who was there, and I saw zero. None of my friends were there. No one was there to support me. And then that's when I realized that I'm alone in a good way. I am the only person that I should rely on for my own happiness. And I can't, you know, the more I place expectations outside of myself to get approval, for other people to share in my success, those are things that are transient. Those are things that I can't control. Those are things that are toxic to happiness. Those are things that will lead you into darkness when you expect other people to make you happy or to celebrate for you or to tell you that you're awesome or that you look great. That is probably, in my opinion, the chief pesticide against real happiness, is placing expectations outside of ourselves. And then, of course, the other chief pesticide would be the, as JP Sears, my buddy, would put it, we're saying we're full of crap when we say we want to be happy, because in our mind, our definition of happiness is mostly being comfortable. And in my opinion, being happy is a spectrum of a wide variety of emotions. And, you know, if we look at emotions like a rainbow, happiness is one part of it, but so too is being challenged and exercising our fears. And that's fulfillment. So people are seeking chronic happiness and expecting to not feel anything else other than it. And that is the incorrect calibration for chasing our dream.
Yeah, you have to have that contrast. And that's one of the things I've realized in the past 2 years, that in order for me to grow, I have to have that contrast. Sometimes the negative is essential in order for growth. It just has to happen. And that's one of the things that I've become comfortable with. Like, okay, this happened. How am I going to deal with it? Because I know that it happened in order to make me grow. Talking about your traveling, you travel a lot, more than most. During your travels, were you traveling as a result of trying to find happiness? And did you find happiness in your travel, or at some point did you realize that that happiness was within you all the time without the traveling?
Yeah, when I was in India climbing the Himalayas one day by myself, I overturned this rock and I found happiness. It was right there underneath the rock. I was like, "Fine, I was looking for you all my life. There you are." I just had to go to India by myself to find it. You know, joking aside, it kind of did happen that way, Dee. I travel the world because I, quite frankly, was... am I allowed to swear on this? I'm not sure. I could just say BS.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was tired of my own bullshit. I was sick of my ego. Our ego is a tool, just like negativity is a tool. But my ego was overriding everything. It was trumping. Whenever my heart wanted to come out and my truth wanted to share, the little voice inside of me said, "Why would you do that? Someone's going to trample on that. They're going to think you're stupid. They're going to think that you're weak." And then my ego would come out, no, look how strong I am. And it was like, why? What am I? Who am I trying to prove what to? Like, who am I talking to when I'm saying these things in my head, and who am I speaking for, and who taught me how to talk like that? Like, ew. And at the time when I first decided to take my world tour, and I was gone for 5 months, I was living in Santa Monica, quote unquote, living the dream, at least according to what I thought was the formula for happiness at the time. But I was extraordinarily depressed. I was living in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and I was teaching yoga. I was a yoga teacher, but it hit me that I was like, how have I done all of these things that I've been taught that would lead me to happiness, but I'm more depressed than ever? I think my formula for happiness is not correct. At least maybe it's not my truth. It's what I've been taught versus what is my genuine light of happiness. And so I said, I need to go be alone. I need to detach from what I feel as though, and I'm speaking for others when I say this too. So I hope that my journey other people can resonate with, because it's what we all do. I'm no different than anyone else. How I go about it, how I've reacted to it, and what I've done about it may be different, but our journeys are all the same. And that is that we have these little aha moments where I'm like, I'm not happy. There's something in my life I'm not happy with right now. And what I hear most people doing, and why I created the project we'll talk about in a minute, what I hear most people doing is they have that aha moment, they come to these beautiful realizations and like, whoa, awareness. That is like, awareness is the coolest part about all of this, is when you go, I am not happy. That's a statement, and that is your challenge. Do you want to explore why you're not happy, or do you want to just keep playing that kind of, I say this with all due respect and love, victim card? If we have the ability to complain about it and continue to keep ourselves small by saying, I'm not happy, but what are we really doing about that? And when I ask people, what makes you happy? A lot of people can't even really describe it. Most people say, I just want to be comfortable. I just want things to go smoothly. Well, then you're definitely on the road to failure because that is not part of the equation of happiness. We can't experience ultimate happiness, true bliss, until we've experienced major lows too. And what we're doing as a society now is we're numbing those major lows. No, you shouldn't feel depressed. Even for a few days, take this antidepressant. You shouldn't feel sad. Go drink some alcohol. Just separate, get out of your body for a little bit. You shouldn't feel sad. Here's some heroin, which is the top used drug now for children and for teenagers. And what one of my best friends went to rehab for. That was a part of this project too. So for me in that time frame, I wasn't using, but I definitely was doing a lot of yoga, and it still wasn't making me happy. I was chasing relationships. I was in relationships. I was blaming my unhappiness on those relationships. I still wasn't happy. So I am the only person that can get behind the wheel of happiness as a spectrum of emotions, and I need to go explore what that is. And so when I went and traveled to India and Brazil, different parts of America, did internships under authors and raw foodists, etc., and then I also went to Thailand, I went on a mission to exercise fears that I never imagined that I had. And I swam with bull sharks in open waters. I got my scuba diving certification. I did something in every country that scared the living crap out of me. And the more I did that, and the more I got lost, like literally and figuratively, and saw the people in India who were more happy and smiling deeper just to have a breath than Americans are to have a Maserati. It like that really hit me in India when I was there, and I saw the filthiest, poorest people in the world, and they were more happy and more content, and they would bow to me and say namaste in prayer as I walked by with this huge, crooked, toothless, brown smile. And I thought, we have it all wrong. I have it all wrong. And that's why I love traveling, because it gets me out of my programming.
Right. Traveling can definitely open your eyes to some different things, and you discover a lot more about yourself when you're out of your regular environment.
Yes.
What I've noticed too in my journey is that this is always a process. You never get that passing grade. It's like, as long as you're here on this earth plane, you're going to be constantly adjusting, readjusting, readjusting. to kind of find your place in the world. I don't know if that's true for you, but I know it's definitely true for me, that as soon as I think that I have something under thumb, so to speak, something comes up and it's something that I have to deal with. I just dealt with an issue last week that I thought I had gotten over with, but I dealt with it. Speaking of that and the process, and you going through the process, doing yoga, traveling, doing all these things, I want to take you back to January 12th. Do you remember anything about January 12th?
Of this year?
Of this year.
Oh, wow. January 12th is when I was going through it. I was a relationship that had hurt me, that had ended, and the day after my birthday last year, he came back and said he was sorry, and he felt awful for, being so hard on me, and wanted to try it again. And then I entertained that, and then decided that I needed to be more patient and just let him go through his thing. And patience was something that I was calling into my life. So maybe was it that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
No,
okay.
yeah, well, you were
okay.
you were going through something personal, but I'm going to get into that as well. You recorded a video and you put that video on Facebook, and that video was at 8 minutes 32 seconds, and that video was in relation to what your clients were going through. But I'm wondering, and you kind of just affirmed that you were going through something at the same time. So that, I'm going to sit here and say that was your jumping off point for this particular summit that we're going to be talking about. Is that a correct assumption?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a culmination of a mound of things happening at one time, and I not only felt sadness for myself, but I was feeling sadness for the people in my lives who were feeling extreme sadness and suffering from being confused and depressed.
Yeah, and that video actually had over 2,000 views, and that's rare. That's rare, Diane, that we will view something over 2,000 times if it's not funny, because most of the Facebook videos that you see that have gone viral are funny stuff, like people on there joking, someone fell down, just stuff that does not have any meaning other than entertainment.
Yeah, I have a whole concept of that too for human nature.
Yeah, but that video to me was a culmination or the starting point for you to start getting into this whole thing. And then
yes,
few months that passed by, you decided to start this project. Your project or summit is called Heart to Happiness, and you chose to focus on the area of depression. Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of our what I call passion projects, I think that a lot of them, especially when we're entrepreneurs or maybe we have side businesses, 501c3s, I think those are born out of our own struggle, right? Like, raising money for cancer, raising money for the cause or the cure, which I would rather say, how about we just spread awareness on the cause versus finding the cure, because the cure isn't the cause. But a lot of these things that we do is because of our own suffering, and we want to feel better. We want to feel less hopeless and helpless. And at the time, I was feeling very weak because I had two of my best friends were using various substances to escape from the light that they were, because they were people pleasing all over the place. And I can identify with that. And I know every woman can. Men can too, but women specifically, we are the roots of the planet. We are what helps connect men to their hearts, and the more men are in their hearts, the more happiness that we can have as a world. And so I think the more lost we are as women, and the less connected we are to our divine source and goddess-like nature that we're here to offer to the world, the more that the planet is diseased, the more that we as human beings are diseased, the more that animals are diseased, because greed is reigning and heart is not. And I may sound like a fun-loving hippie, but it's the truth. We are much more productive when we're happy. There's tons of studies on this, and I did lots of research. After that video, I set out to really explore what kind of message was out there about the productivity of being happy, the efficiency of love, and where we were as a society in relation to where we should be, which is mostly in our hearts. You know, there's a place for ego and there's a place for heart. And of course, what happens whenever we experience something in our lives, and I know this to be true for everybody that I work with, we all question, am I normal? Am I alone? Am I the only one going through this? And we feel shame around an emotion. And once we discover that we're not alone, and this is a common human interface to experience, and not only just it's part of being human, but it is running rampant more today than ever, and we are spending more money today than ever on trying to fight disease and depression. And depression is the number one reason now that we are out of work. Depression is the number one reason for disability. And at the time, one of my two friends who was suffering and using alcohol and near death, damn near suicide, she's been out of work for quite some time. She's been out of her body for quite some time. And the other one was using a lot of drugs to numb her emotions, because she was literally being everything that she wasn't and trying to people please.
Does this come from you've gone through the summit, you listened to the speakers, you had 25 speakers that have spoken on this specific topic. Has this come about, this problem that we have with our society, has this come about just because we have lost, or we have tried to teach people to bury their emotions and not really feel their emotions?
Yes, Darren. Yes. I am most upset at how much men are condemned for feeling and expressing their emotions. That is what saddens me the most, because primally, you guys are raised to be this sign of strength, this warrior who doesn't feel, but yet can kill and protect and bring home food and scavenge and reproduce and spread the seed, right? And I don't know when there ever has been a time in history where you guys were encouraged to express and really truly feel. And selfishly, not just for me, but for all of my girlfriends. I mean, I work hard. I use my heart in my work, and I'm an open book. I invest a lot of energy into my clients and my friends and my loved ones, and I'm very much authentic in my delivery. And I wish I wasn't always this way. It's been a lot of work to get here, to give less F's about what other people think, in an empowering sense. Not that I don't care about other people, but I just don't really want to put too much weight on their judgment of me, because their judgment of me is their judgment of themselves and what pisses them off most about themselves. And so with men today, I have seen they are afraid to feel, they're afraid to express their emotions. And so because they're afraid to feel this and express this, they would just rather abort mission and leave the women confused and sad, hanging, wondering what happened. And then here we are sitting insecure about ourselves. There must be something wrong with me because he denied my love. He rejected me. He didn't call me back. He's not, he easily breaks up with me. I was reading something today, and basically, the summary is that relationships are intended to create growth. And today, they tend to stifle growth more than enhance it. And that's one of the main reasons that we're failing at romantic love, right? We expect our partners to act in a certain way. We expect them to read our mind. We repress ourselves to please others. And soon thereafter, we feel small and confused and oppressed and minimized, and which inevitably makes the partnership feel like a cage that we want to break out of. But the scary truth is we're the ones that have caged ourselves. And conscious couples is the thing of 2016. The way that couples and people are coming together, be it partnership in business, friendship, relationship, the conscious partnerships value growth more than anything, because they know that it's the secret to keeping partnerships and connections alive. And what we lack today more than ever is connection. And that lack of connection is what is leading us to depression and disease and death. And that's what we're trying to chase the symptoms of with drugs. We can't experience conscious love, conscious relationships without seeing the shit inside of us. Relationships are the best place to learn who we really are and our deepest, darkest fears, that once we bring them up to the surface and we address them, that's where happiness lies. That's where bliss lies, and that's where it lives. And that's where we can experience the resiliency that when things happen to us, when stressors occur, we're able just to brush them off and not allow them to affect us, because 90% of our happiness is not what we have. It's about how we perceive the world. It's not about the things that we own. It's about how we react to the world.
Yeah, relationships are huge, just simply because what I've learned is we are reflecting ourselves back to us. And a lot of people fear that intimacy with themselves. So therefore, when something goes wrong, you have two partners there, or even in a friendship, when something goes wrong within a friendship, it's just reflecting us back to us. And we don't want to see that reflection. So therefore, we avoid it. And a lot of men do that. A lot of women are doing that too. Women are not as feeling as they once were. Some, I'm not going to say all, but we as a society have been taught to kind of dumb our emotions down, and our emotions are there as a guidance. They're a guidance that you gravitate to what feels good, you stay away from what feels bad. But most people just sit. They never take that emotion and leave it or use it as a way to expand and to grow.
Yes, I think there's a good visual for that I just thought of. It's like if you're going from, I'm just going to use Orange County to Los Angeles, because I was there this last weekend for a party with Renee Piani, and she's one of the experts I interviewed on love. If you guys want to listen to that one, it was her husband's birthday, and so I went up to Los Angeles, and I used my GPS to get there. So GPS says, get off the freeway, turn left. Let's just say that instruction is like an emotion that comes through in my head. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to turn left. I'm just going to turn right. That's the equivalent of not listening to that emotion and just trying to say, nope, I'm not going to feel that right now. And I'm going to numb it with alcohol or drugs or sex or, the force of making someone else make me feel happy because I feel sadness. I don't want to feel it. Hey, you make me happy. Hey, make me happy. And it's like not listening to your GPS. I mean, these emotions, they are clues. They're clues to help guide you to discover what it is that is holding you back from everything in your life. When you understand yourself better and you are connected to yourself, then everything gets better. Your body gets better. You get the body of your dreams. You get the relationships that you've always wanted. You get the friendships. You get the support. You get the money. You get the power. You get the family. And things just all fall into place.
You mentioned something earlier in the interview, and I wanted to just get your take on that, because when you start feeling your emotions, and I've gone through this myself, there's a part of you that just doesn't want to go with that. It just says, hey, you've been doing what you've been doing for a number of years. Keep doing what you're doing. You just want to stay. You want to stay still, but you want to stay where you are and stay comfortable. One of the things that I've noticed is that I had to, at some point, be a little bit more vulnerable. And I'm wondering if going through these interviews, really talking to clients like you talk to your clients, how many have you seen that made themselves more vulnerable, and have you made yourself a little bit more vulnerable through going through this particular summit?
During this summit, I really wanted to help others to really tap into their uniqueness and their gift and their light. That was my greatest intention for this, because I didn't share, I shared that my boyfriend and I at the time, who I haven't spoken to since Valentine's Day, which is when I was home visiting my family. I was there because I was saying goodbye to my aunt who was dying of cancer, and it was her second go round. She got breast cancer once. They used chemo and radiation, which you and I both know doesn't get to the root of cancer. It only, trims the dead leaves, so to speak. Her root was still there, and the root grew cancer back again. And for her, I firmly believe it was unresolved childhood trauma and people pleasing, and it was her unhappiness that I believe led to her growing cancer and passing away. And when I learned more about her and her journey, and she was such an amazing soul, but when I learned about her childhood and I learned about the person that she grew to become as a shell, it was an outer shell, it was her persona. It wasn't her spirit. It was who she had to evolve to become in order to fulfill the role that someone else in her family wasn't. And so all of the siblings knew that about her. And so when she passed, it was my gift to honor her, the world, and let the world know that, the estimates now are 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women in the next, in this lifetime will have or have had cancer. And our thoughts are thousands of times more powerful than the chemicals that we expose ourselves to or don't. And so for me, I'm good on that end, D. I'm real good at detoxification and digestion, and that's what I specialize in. I've got my warrior cleanse. I teach people all around the world how to, become their best warrior body. But the thought process wasn't all the way there for me, because I was pretty traumatized with all of the things that were happening around me. I had financial problems. My aunt died. My 2 best friends were struggling in rehab, and then the breakup. So those things were all I felt very weak. And so when I channeled what I channeled and the people that I brought into this, I definitely transformed. I changed my wardrobe. I hired 6 new staff for my business. I had this new mission that I felt, this is so powerful, and what I'm feeling and what these speakers are telling me and how I'm going to interweave these into my practice to support people and to help people beyond nutrition. Everyone needs to hear this, and it's not going to fail. And I had no more financial struggles. I had no more blockage of financial fear. I just started investing and taking more risk, because I all of a sudden believed in what I had put together with these other, the strong network of people. And I said, the fact that I was able to get through the bullshit of my entire life in 1 3-month time period, that was a miracle in and of itself. The 8 biggest things that I took away from that is to explore gratitude. Literally every day, write 3 things down before I go to bed of what I'm grateful for. And they're not always beautiful things. They could be really ugly, but they were just an awareness for myself. It's like, hey, this is a truth, and I can learn it, or I can run away from it. So I learned gratitude. Then I learned that the happiest that we'll ever be is in this moment right now. And there's even studies and TED Talks that say that if we're shifting focus away from this moment, even if this moment is painful and we daydream about being on a beach in Hawaii, we are less happy when we are less present, even in the present moment, if that's painful. So be more in the moment, be present, ditch your cell phone. I've pissed a lot of people off by not texting them back in a 24-hour time period, but I don't care. IDK, IDC, I don't care. So that's literally like not people pleasing right there. And the third one is to give more. So I've been giving a lot more. I've been giving more of my time, my energy, my money, just giving. The fourth one is to plan my own time. I'm not cramming so much in a schedule. After 8 o'clock, I'm done working. I'm done. I used to work till 2 in the morning. I work 15, 16-hour days. And now I schedule me time. There's nothing selfish about that. It is the most selfless thing that you can do. And you know, the words crazy busy, I'm like, I have developed an IgG response to that. I swear. I can't stand it when I hear people go, I'm so crazy busy. I'm like, what Dale Thomas in the first interview taught us to say instead of crazy busy is I am in high demand. I'm in high demand.
It's language.
It's language. It's choice of words.
Yes. Perspective.
And then, the fifth one is to take risks. Every day I'm doing something that, and I'm encouraging clients and patients and everyone who's listening to do something once a day that gets us out of our comfort zone. Take risks. And then you get to explore, you're going to fall on your face sometimes, but you know what? When you accomplish that risk, then you get to taste what it feels like to have fulfillment, and you're going to chase that more than you are going to chase failure, realizing that failure is part of the journey to success. And then to stop trying to people please everyone, be yourself, with unapologetically yourself. The seventh one is explore creativity and vulnerability. Those two are hand in hand. So I'm doing things that are very artsy now. My creative space is now what I realize is painting and drawing and doing graphic arts. I'm doing that a lot more. And then awareness, knowing who I am, asking questions when I'm experiencing or feeling something, even if it's just a physical body sensation. What am I feeling this for? Where is it coming from? Just to be totally present with yourself and not to judge that, not to judge things as they come up.
Yeah, that's huge. I had a headache Saturday, and I was walking through the grocery store, and I was like, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? What's bugging me? What's bugging me? And I pinpointed one little thing, and I just soothed it a little bit. My headache went away. That's just how huge it is when little things are bugging us and things that we bury, how they come up in the body, and all you have to do is like address them and move forward. You know what I mean? But You had 25 experts, 25 people that you talked to. What interviews stood out most in your mind?
Well, we're always connected to the things that we're most disconnected from, right? So meaning, there's 7 pinnacles of wellness, and that's what I talk about in this Heart to Happiness project. And I'm calling it a project because I've created some exercises for people that within the confines of happiness exist 7 key areas to wellness and happiness. And I've created a quiz to help people explore where they're most deficient in. And it's something that I've created through a lot of research across all of these different areas among different experts and the research and the studies and of my own experience. And social wellness is, including environmental, how we treat the planet is how we treat ourselves. There's emotional wellness, how we share feelings with others, how we share it with ourselves, how we handle our own emotions. Spiritual wellness is keeping the connection between values and actions, and having those synergize. Financial wellness, having enough, not too much, not too little, what we do with our money, our relationship with money. Occupational wellness, are we getting personal fulfillment out of our careers? Are we following our purpose? Intentional wellness is the ability to open our minds to new ideas and experiences and seek challenges. And then there's physical wellness, which is, what I focus on a lot. I feel like I'm really good with physical wellness. I'm detoxing every day, recognizing that our actions influence our body, image and the weight that we carry or don't. So we talk about all of those. And of course, I can help people in the physical wellness more than I can help people in those other areas. Even though I did financial wellness before, I still have some tips that I share with people. I try to make nutrition as cost effective as possible. But the one that hit home with me the most were the relationship ones, because I feel like I was the most efficient there, because I was a little bit codependent in my relationship, my love relationships, leaning heavily into a partner to make me feel better about myself where I was feeling deficient. And Renee Piani, the love designer, she wrote a book, and she was, I think, my 4th interview. And then I loved Austin Bloods because he had the perspective from the male view. And Darren, he said something that stuck with me forever, and it changed the way I looked at myself in the mirror naked. It changed the way I danced on the dance floor and how I felt about myself dancing on the dance floor, and my judgment of myself and my judgment of others judging me. He said that if we women, if we just had confidence in ourselves and didn't lean so heavily outside of ourselves to make others feel better about ourselves, then it would eradicate 70% of relationship problems. And I went, wow, that's a pretty powerful number. So really, the key to all of this, the key to successful relationships, is having internal confidence in ourselves, seeing ourselves as beautiful, no matter what the situation is, knowing that we are a work in progress. Even though you may see yourself being 20 pounds overweight in the mirror, you're on a journey, you're on a path, you're not going to be there overnight. You should love yourself along the journey no matter where you're at. And so those two got me more into my space of vulnerability. And then after that point, I said, I am going to publicly announce that I am looking for a relationship. I felt shame in that before. I felt desperate by saying that I really wanted someone to walk into my life. And then expressing that, I was scared to at first. I felt like I might be judged. But it started this fun movement, and people started sending pictures of unicorn men to me. And I found people coming into my life saying, hey, do you want to go on a date? And I'm like, wow, this is, and more people coming into my life that were more what I was looking for. So it was neat to challenge myself in a place that I was most fearful of being vulnerable and stepping into. And that affirming that that 99% of what we think never happens was affirmed, and I was like, all right, onward ho with the 1%. So that was part of my quiz that I realized I was the most efficient there. And then when we work on that one piece of the 7, then we work on that, we fix that, it starts to color everything else and make everything else easier. So that's why I called that the project. And I literally lost 2 years worth of videos, Dee, in the 2 years and 2 days worth of videos in the process of all of this. And I didn't stress out one bit. I just went, well, whatever, I'll have to do them again.
Yeah. So how do we go about signing up for this or getting access to it?
Sure. Yeah. So Heart to Happiness is the name of the project. And, Heart to Happiness, exactly how it sounds. And you'll see a little video, and you'll see all the speakers on there. It's on until June 8th. So basically it started May 16th. It's on until June 8th. We've got 24 speakers plus me who are in there. When you sign up, you get videos every day. You get an email every day announcing who's up. And every speaker that is on there has 3 key takeaways that you can employ immediately into your life so that you could start being happier. And it's not about, happiness, comfort. It's about wildly happy beyond your wildest dreams.
Cool. Diane Kazer, it's been real. Thanks for being on today.
Darren McDuffie, thanks for having me, my man.
Thanks.